Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with a brand new box of dinosaurs I just recently purchased. This box was basically filled with some kind of old school stuff, and basically stuff that not everybody's going to like, but I personally was obviously excited about enough to grab, and it does feature a few figures I've kind of been looking for, but haven't found previously. So, nothing super amazing in here that I think you're going to lose your mind over, but there's definitely some fun stuff. And I'm actually going to start the unboxing with one of the very first figures here on top that I can see, which is an absolute classic. And that is this. As we can see, it is the classic Kenner Velociraptor, the Screaming Velociraptor, which, again, isn't the greatest raptor you're ever going to see, but when it comes to an old school style Velociraptor from the Jurassic Park toy line, it really doesn't get much more epic than this. It doesn't get much more nostalgic than this. I loved this figure as a kid, and I even still love it today as an adult. So let's go ahead and try to stand it. Doesn't want to stand right now, apparently. We're just going to sit it back. There's actually quite a bit of larger figures in here, but there's also a bag full of smaller figures. So I think I'm just going to bust this bag open real quick and then bring in all of these tiny figures. So first of all, we have whatever this is. We've got some kind of really weird, kind of goofy little Triceratops. I don't know anything about that figure, nor have I ever even seen that before, if I'm remembering correctly. We also have some super old school dinos, which this guy looks like the happiest little dinosaur ever. I don't know what species that one is meant to be. Kind of looks like a Camptosaurus or something, but I'm not entirely sure what exactly we are looking at here. But it's still a pretty cool figure. Maybe it's a Plateosaurus. I don't know. I don't know what they were going for with this one. Still kind of a cool figure. He's like a soft rubber, and he's very vintage. I don't know when this one was made, but I'm sure it was quite a ways back. But I always love stuff like that. I always get so excited over old school dinosaur toys. We do also have a mini Velociraptor Blue, because why wouldn't we have some, Jurassic Park, or, well, actually Jurassic World minis, I should say, mixed in here. Man, that blue does not want to stand. I'm trying to stand it up over here to the side of the, off screen basically, and it is not standing. We also have this one, which is kind of weird and random, a very old school but kind of mini Pachycephalosaurus. I actually don't know if I've ever seen that figure before, which is pretty intriguing. I always love when I can find a figure I haven't seen before, because at this point I always feel like I've seen most of them. But then I instantly bring in another one that I'm not entirely sure I've seen before. I have definitely seen similar style figures, but this one specifically with the head turned backwards and everything is actually pretty cool. And again, not something I'm absolutely positive that I've seen before. That one's definitely a pleasant surprise, and of course we don't have any information on who makes it, but still a pretty neat sauropod. We've also got this guy in here, a weird little Stegosaurus, and I don't know if he's Playmobil or what, but he kind of looks like he would be something similar. He's got some form of articulation. Okay, so he's got the tail that goes side to side, articulated legs, and an articulated neck. But that one's definitely interesting to me. If you guys know what this one is, definitely let me know in the comments section, because I don't know that figure at all. And then, wouldn't you know it, we've got ourselves some Mattel minis again with the Ankylosaurus, and I think there are more of them in here. I just definitely feel like there are some more Mattel minis in here. Oh, there definitely is. I can actually see the Quetzalcoatlus from here. And actually, I just pulled another one up here. But we've got another old school sort of Pachycephalosaurus. Yep, we've got two of them here. So we've got some buddies. We'll put them over here to the side. It's impossible to kind of put them all here in screen, because there are some pretty big figures coming, so I really want to keep some room for them. We've also got this old school dino. Again, I don't know exactly what this one is meant to be, but kind of looks like a really weird version of a Stegosaurus, because I could sort of see like plates up there on the top of the back, and it almost looks like there's something going on out here at the end of the tail. Almost looks more like an old school Warosaurus, but he's like another soft, almost like an eraser kind of feel. We also have a Troceraptor Ghost down here, so obviously we've got a healthy dose of old school and new school figures. And here is the Quetzalcoatlus I was just speaking of. Again, the Mattel Quetzalcoatlus right there, which is a pretty cool figure. And then we've got another of these random figures, some crazy ceratopsian in here, which his tail is upside down. Oh boy, I think his tail looked better when it was upside down. Now that we lift it up, he looks super goofy. But another figure that I definitely don't know anything about. I've never seen those before. We've got a super bright pterosaur, and then we've also got another very similar pterosaur, but colored and is a bit larger. But they definitely look kind of similar to me. Again, those standing pterosaurs are super vintage looking. There's also this one, which is pretty intriguing. I don't know if I've ever seen this specific pterosaur figure before. I don't know. That one looks really old, though. Definitely looks old. We've got an Imaginext Compsognathus hiding in here, which does actually have articulation in the head. I actually really quite like those figures, so pretty cool that he's in here. We also have a very old school rubbery Parasaurolophus and a Brachiosaurus. Again, these are very soft and squishy figures. As well as, wouldn't you guess, yes, some more Mattel minis in here. I'll have some fun minis I could potentially repaint at some point. There's a super goofy looking dinosaur skeleton in here as well. I guess that's maybe a T-Rex, I'm not entirely sure. We've also got an old school Styracosaurus. So as you can see, we are loaded with all sorts of random little tiny figures. Another Atrociraptor ghost, which we'll just put over here. And then another one of these goofy figures. This time we've got an Ankylosaurus. I'm definitely intrigued to find out what these are, because again, I don't know anything, and all it's... Oh, well, this actually says T-Rex on the underside, so I don't know if maybe that's the name of the media that this comes from. I have no clue at all, but we're going to put that one over on the other side now. As we continue to move on, we've got ourselves another vintage style figure with a Triceratops, which I actually kind of like him. He definitely looks pretty neat. And then we've got another mini, this time another Jurassic World mini with a Pteranodon. And we also have another mini with a Triceratops. So continuing to have tons of Jurassic World minis in here. We also have one of these vintage figures, the old school Screaming figures. I've actually been considering making a video on these guys recently. I don't know why, they're just so funny. I really wanted to kind of make a video about the Screaming dinosaurs because they're always just so angry. But you can see that we've got like a Stegosaurus here. And then we also have a Velociraptor Blue mini, as well as a super old school Ceratosaurus, which again, he kind of looks actually pretty cool. Even though he's very cheap looking at the same time, definitely features that fairly nice interpretation of a vintage Ceratosaurus. And here's a very interesting mini of a sauropod. I've never seen this figure before. Definitely don't ever recall seeing this one, so that's an interesting one that I'm very unfamiliar with. We have another one of these really weird little Pteranodon figures in here, as well as a dinosaur that's not having a great day because he is missing a few legs here. So not such a great figure with that one. And then we've got this one, and my camera doesn't want to focus on him. There we go. I don't know what that one is meant to be. I don't know if I've ever seen that figure either. Kind of neat looking just because it almost looks like it's meant to be like a Postosuchus or something, or even a Herrerasaurus. I'm not sure what they were going for with that one, but he's kind of cool. We've also got another version of that Ceratosaurus, this time with a green coloration. Again, I really like that figure for some reason. A very vintage Dimetrodon, which is actually pretty cool, especially considering how decent quality this one is. You can see, definitely got that perfect old school Dimetrodon look. We as well have another Pteranodon. It seems like whoever had this box loves the standing Pteranodon. There are so many in here. There is also another Parasaurolophus, very vintage looking version. And it seems like whoever had this box also loves a Atrociraptor Ghost, because this is the third time now we have had an Atrociraptor Ghost mini in here. There is also another very vintage Brachiosaurus in here. Obviously, none of these minis are the greatest in the world, but they're fairly cool. We've also got a very old school mini Styracosaurus, and then a Stegosaurus as well. Again, very old school mini. There's also an Indominus Rex. We've got, that's like I think the original minis from Mattel. Maybe even from those like triple packs that they were selling at Walmart back in the day of the Indominus. I forget exactly, but that's definitely an older one. We've got another skeleton in here, this time a really weird-looking Triceratops, as well as a mini Gallimimus, again, another Mattel mini. We as well have this sort of goofy-looking old-school raptor. Almost looks like a very vintage Deinonychus. We also have a Brachiosaurus mini, as well as this little guy. He is super, super tiny and kind of silly looking. I really don't know anything about that one either. He's got like hair on him or something. But then we as well have a Pachycephalosaurus, another one of these guys. I think we had that one earlier, but that one looks like it has like a red wash or something on it. Then we have a Stegosaurus skeleton as well, and look at that, we've got a JP3 figure in here with one of these smaller Spinosaurus figures. It's so sad how ugly the head is of this, because as you move back into the body, look at that detail. That actually looks really impressive. It's a pretty nicely sculpted Spino, but then you come up to the head and it's like, ugh, I don't know what happened there. But we also have some more in here. We're in like the last little bunch of these figures that are in this bag. And this one's pretty neat because we have maybe the smallest Dimetrodon ever. Look at how tiny that little figure is. As well as another Styracosaurus, a little bit of a different looking one compared to before. And wouldn't you guess, another standing Pteranodon. And yes, it's a very different style. Well, kind of a different style compared to the others. This one as well as a kind of soft rubbery version. And yes, another Atrociraptor ghost. Oh wait, that's not it. There's another Atrociraptor ghost. What in the world is going on? That's like 5 Atrociraptor ghost minis in here. We also have this Disney's Dinosaur style Styracosaurus, again in minifigure form. Then we've got another Pteranodon, another Mattel Pteranodon mini, as well as this one, which is a pretty interesting figure. I don't know if I've ever seen that one before either. Kind of cool. And then, look at this guy. So we've got like an old school sort of a Trachodon or something like that. That's a very vintage type figure. I actually really like those minis. And then we've got a Stegosaurus, again another very old school version, as well as a small decrepit soft rubber Dimetrodon. And then we've got another figure like that, but this time it's a Triceratops. And then we also have this guy, which again is a little Pachycephalosaurus. So those figures are pretty bad. We have another one of these really tiny Ceratosaurus, which again still looks really cool. I love this figure every time I see it. As well as another Brachiosaurus, a little mini there. And then the final figure down here is, wow, this one's actually an old school quadrupedal Spinosaurus, it looks like. That's actually kind of neat. This one caught me completely by surprise when I just went to pick this one up, because I don't know if I've ever seen something like that before with the very vintage looking figure, but an obvious quadrupedal Spinosaurus. That's pretty cool. So there was a ton of figures in that bag, but let's move on to the next round of figures. And here's where we start to bring in some of the bigger ones, as we've got this guy, which is a very vintage looking, I guess, a Styracosaurus, but it's really weird looking, but definitely a very cool figure. I love these old school dinosaur toys. Look at how crazy this one looks. And that's definitely one of the more interesting ceratopsians, I will say. And the detail on it is actually pretty decent, you know, kind of generic as far as like the same style of skin texture over the course of the entire body outside of the underbelly, but still pretty cool. And we do have confirmation here on the underside that it is meant to be a Styracosaurus. So let's put that one way back there. And we've also got this figure, and this one really drew my attention because I don't know if it's meant to be an Edaphosaurus or a Dimetrodon. When it comes to these old school figures, it was always one or the other, but they always looked kind of the same. And oh, there we go. Oh, this is an Edaphosaurus. But again, you can see, sculpt-wise, it's pretty darn decent, and it also features an impressive size to it. Not the greatest paint apps or anything, but it's definitely a candidate for a repaint that could really bring that figure to life, I think. So I don't know if I'll repaint it or not. I kind of like it the way it is, but it's at least a potential repaint for the future. We also have this goofy little dragon in here that I don't know anything at all about, outside of the fact that it looks ridiculous, but that is, again, something that is included. I don't even know what to do with this thing. I guess a niece or nephew will end up with that. We've also got an Imperial Triceratops, a very, very bright one. And this one doesn't look like it's actually that old. Kind of looks like it's a newer version. I don't know if this is something that's still being released today. I have no idea, but that one doesn't look like it's all that old. It just kind of looks like it's in such good condition. It's got to be newer. Then we've got ourselves a pretty massive Stegosaurus in here, which looks to be maybe by the same company that created the Edaphosaurus and Styracosaurus back there in the back. Just has that same look and feel and almost the same size range. I'm not sure who that company would be, but it's kind of a fun vintage style Stegosaurus. So let's put that one way back there. We've also got an old school Euoplocephalus, which is kind of fun to be able to see a figure like this, a species like this, made back then. Find it a home here. We've also got another of the screaming dinosaurs, which it's not focusing on. There we go. I don't know what in the world this dinosaur is as far as what species it's meant to be, but I absolutely had some of these when I was a kid. So they, of course, hold a nice soft spot in my heart. We as well have a Jurassic Park 3 Hasbro Raptor in here. Obviously, it's the female raptor from Jurassic Park 3, which is pretty cool. Again, they're not the greatest figures in the world, but for what they are, they're fairly fun. We've got another angry dinosaur with the Triceratops, who is absolutely screaming so angry. And then kind of a cool, weird version of an old school raptor here, which is, you know, not the greatest quality figure, but it's fairly decent for what it is. Again, for being a cheap figure, like, it's got some okay detail on it, not really impressive paint apps or anything, but still kind of fun. And then we also have another screaming dinosaur, as we've got the craziest looking old school Stegosaurus here. And then the final two figures, which I'm going to have to move the camera back for because they're pretty huge. So I forget the name of the brand that makes these guys, but they are so cool, and I love these old school figures. First of all, we have the Styracosaurus, and as you can see, these figures are gigantic. They are absolutely huge, and I think that's always been one of the, you know, defining features of this brand, is the fact that they create such massive figures. And we can obviously see, again, that is one huge but very stylized old school Styracosaurus, and really happy to have him because I did not have the Styracosaurus in this line previously. I've been slowly trying to get all of those figures from that brand into my collection over the years. There's an incredibly cool Megalosaurus that they have out that I would love to one day get my hands on, but I have not even seen any sign of that one outside of one person that I know having it. So don't think I'll ever get that one, but still excited to be able to get some of these, because the other one that I have is this one, which is way too tall. I now have to move the camera up. We can see it is the Dilophosaurus from the same brand again as well. I totally forget what the name of the company is that creates these, but they're very vintage style dinosaur figures. Kind of goofy looking, very weird looking in some areas, like this one has super goofy looking leg sculpts and stuff, but there's just such a charm to these figures that I can't help but really like them, and it's kind of been driving me to collect them over the years. And I do have some, not a whole lot, but I definitely have a few in my collection. However, there is a pretty lengthy line of these, I think, so there are, you know, quite a few more that I need to get my hands on. There's a really cool Ceratosaurus out there I would love to find at some point and get into my collection. But overall, as you can see, we've got all sorts of stuff here, tons and tons of figures included in this box. So I'm really excited to be able to score a whole bunch of really sweet dino toys here and show them off to you guys. In the comment section, let me know what you think of these, and of course, if there's anything you would like to see reviews of here on my channel that I haven't reviewed previously, definitely let me know and I'll try to do that. And of course, like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.